Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about the two new SMG types that are coming with patch 1.5, how to mod them, what are some potential builds with them, the baked in talent, and my overall thoughts on how competitive will they be. Starting off with, we have the converted USC. Now the third intrinsic baked in talent that you have is the Ambusher, which increases your damage by 10% against targets in cover. This is a basic SMG type, and this talent is actually, I hate to say it, garbage. This is a horrible talent that you're never going to get use out of in PvP. However, it might have a small amount of utility in PvE. It's a cool talent, it's innovative, it's really nice to see this type of thing being put into the game, something that rewards different styles of gameplay. But let's be real, everyone runs around 5 feet from each other, shooting at each other out of cover in PvP, and this will never ever give you a bonus. Unless you're going up against someone that has sturdy and robust and they're in cover constantly to get the armor, you're really just never going to get some use. So roll this off for something like responsive or competent immediately. That is a very bad talent. Moving on, you have the tactical UMP45. This is the other base SMG type that is coming with patch 1.5, extremely similar to the converted USC, and has the same baked in third tier talent. So let's talk about the main attributes though, with both of these SMGs, and which is better and why. So to start off with, you have very high base damage scaling on both weapon types. The converted USC, as you can see here with my subjective glass cannon firearms build, is going to be 19.5 thousand, and the tactical UMP is going to be 20.5 thousand. So the advantage lies with the tactical UMP 45 there. But talking about the RPM, which is the second major category that you need to consider, we have 650 on the converted USC, which is very low. I would prefer something higher like 800 or 825, like the SMG 9 or something like the MP5. However, this will do because the high base damage, so it will be competitive in PvP despite the fact that it has a low RPM. And then you have 600 flat on the UMP 45. Now, this is actually quite bad. It does, I guess, get a little bit compensated for by the fact that the damage is so high, but 600 RPM is very low. It's not something that you're going to want to, feel comfortable with when you're in PvP with this gun. Now moving on to the third category, you're going to have the 20 bullet magazine on the converted USC, which is very low, right on par with something like a Vector, which does not see play anymore because it's just so non-competitive when it comes to both the magazine size and its base damage. The converted USC is basically a Vector 2.0. It actually has a lot better scaling. It has the same magazine size, and it will be much better utilized in PvP. And then you have the tactical UMP 45 with 30 bullets in the magazine. Now the difference between 30 and 20 is not just 10. Since the optimal way to mod the gun, which I'll talk about in a second, is actually with magazine size as the major attribute on your magazine, the difference is 30 becomes 60 and 20 becomes 40. The difference between 40 and 60 is 20, so you're actually losing 20 bullets in the magazine by running something like a converted USC over something like a tactical UMP 45. So the decided advantage for which gun is better goes to the tactical UMP 45. It is much better than the converted USC because while you are losing 50 RPM, you're gaining 20 bullets in the magazine after modifications, and you're gaining some base damage, which will scale even better with your critical hit damage modifier that's baked right into the SMG overall. So now let's talk about how to mod both of these gun types. Now, since they are both SMGs and both have extremely similar stat points, you're not going to mod them differently. However, within that, there are a lot of different potential mods to use for these guns. It's really user's preference now. There's so many different things that you can be using with SMGs. It really allows you to play how you want to play. Now, I'm going to talk about subjectively and definitely this is opinionated, how I would mod these guns optimally to get the most out of them using the mods that I have at my disposal. Now, looking here, we have accuracy, critical hit damage, headshot damage. We have accuracy, critical hit damage, optimal range. Moving on, we have something with stability as a major. We have another stability major, and then we have critical hit chance major. This is what I would choose. The critical hit chance major attribute on the suppressor, while it may not be, pound for pound as good as something like headshot damage or critical hit damage, the critical hit chance is going to help you proc the critical hit damage that's already built into your SMG. That is why I've chosen to run it, and that is why I view it to be the best thing. I have fantastic results with this, though I know people that will definitely stand by other choices as the best. 4% critical hit damage is nice, and 2% accuracy is great because the bullet spread is definitely a little bit far on SMGs. As soon as you go medium to long range, the bullets will definitely fly farther apart, and it'll be harder to land tight groupings for headshots. But critical hit chance is the important part of this suppressor, and I will stand by that choice. Moving on to my small grip. There's a few different choices. You can go with something like reload speed. You can go with something like accuracy for tighter bullet groupings. You can go with something like critical hit damage, and that is what I would choose to do. I've gone with critical hit damage, reload speed, stability. I would prefer accuracy instead of stability, but critical hit damage is good, very, very good, and again, pairs nicely with your critical hit chance and with the built-in critical hit damage on the gun itself. And then reload speed is very, very nice for getting another magazine in there quick and then dishing some more damage, especially against players. Moving on to your magazine, this is where there isn't as much room for customization. The best combination for an extended mag is magazine size as a major attribute. That is 100% important. Critical hit chance, again, to help you proc that high critical hit damage bonus that you're getting from the gun itself, and then rate of fire, especially. Now, you can switch this up if you really want to, but the most important thing is magazine size. The other two minor attributes, while critical hit chance is very helpful, are not completely essential. Moving on to your scope, I have critical hit damage, optimal range, critical hit chance. You can run critical hit chance as the major attribute if you'd like to. Again, it helps you get that critical hit damage bonus more often, especially when paired with pulse, and it is very good to run. However, you can also go for something like headshot damage or some other modifier if you're comfortable with your aim. So now I'm going to use both of these guns just a little bit in the firing range and show you how they feel. This converted USC is extremely stable. Utilizing something like 1 is none, if you are able to land shots on the target in progressive ways, you'll be able to get a lot of use out of it. Now, I would not recommend the converted USC over the tactical UMP45. However, it is a good gun. It does have good base damage, and I'm excited for both of these guns to release with patch 1.5. Now, moving on to the tactical UMP45. Higher base damage, again, lower RPM, but much better magazine size. I'm not going to mod this gun. I'm just going to demonstrate a little bit. Now, it does have lower RPM, but it does have higher base damage. And when you have augmented this gun up to about 60 bullets in the magazine, it feels like you can just dish damage for days. It's very, very fun to use, and I foresee this actually being an active participant in the PvP metagame in the Dark Zone. So that's very fun. Talking just a little bit about theory crafting moving forward, I think the primary use for the UMP45, other than dedicated SMG builds like Alpha Bridge or something like Predator's Mark, is going to be with the new frontline gear set. As you can see here, D3, F, and C. I was confused about which letters and numbers they were. I'd forgotten for a second. The D3, F, and C, or frontline quote-unquote gear set, is going to allow you with the 4-piece bonus to use an SMG if one is equipped when ballistic shield is deployed. SMG crit chance is reduced to 0%, however, and that is why these SMGs are going to excel. They have lower RPM, but they have very high base damage, so you don't need the critical hit damage multiplier to be active. You don't need to get the crits, and you don't need to then progressively have them scale higher because of the built-in talent. The frontline gear set essentially renders your submachine gun critical hit damage modifier inactive and only relies on the base damage and the RPM and the mag size. So a tactical UMP45 with high base damage, lower RPM, and competitive mag size is going to be very good with a frontline gear set. Just imagine using your ballistic shield constantly with an SMG firing as quickly as it is. You can still get the headshot modifier, you just can't get those critical strikes. So 20,000 per bullet while having a riot shield active in front of you and blocking the radial damage is going to be really, really cool, and there's going to be a lot of utility with that. So I'm going to stop rambling on. I'm really excited for both of these new gun types. They are both SMGs. They will both see meta competitive play. They're really cool, but I think that the tactical UMP is much better than the converted USC. I personally foresee it being used more, and I'm really excited to use this one in some builds as soon as patch 1.5 goes live on console. So I'm going to cut the rambling there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will be releasing more videos in the future about the different gun types. I've already talked about the FAMAS. I've already talked about the new pistol coming, or one of the new pistols, and that specifically is the 93R. And I will be talking about the new marksman rifle, the new LMG, etc., etc. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you want to support the channel, please check out the links below. And as always, guys, have a nice night.